What is going on, guys? This is the Club of the Man 1993 back here for some more baseball news as the Baseball Writers Association has voted somebody else into the Hall of Fame, joining Fred McGriff, who will be inducted this summer for the class of 2023. And that, of course, is Gold Glove third baseman Scott Rolen, who made history actually with the selection. As Scott Rolen, his first year on the ballot back in 2018, he only had 10.2% of the vote, which apparently is the lowest any future inductee had that would eventually get in on the ballot. As he did get a strong increase over the next, because this was his sixth year on the ballot, but that was his first year. He then went to 17.2%, to 35.3%, to 52.9%, and 63.2% last year. And was finally getting in this year with 76.3% of the vote, just above the 75% requirement needed for the induction. Again, he will be joining first baseman Fred McGriff this summer, who was elected by the Veterans Committee just a couple months ago as well. Scott Rolen, first off, again, much respect for him. Again, back in the day when I first started watching baseball, again, I absolutely at first hated the Cardinals. They were the best team in my division. And I just like, oh, these guys think they're so great. But really, they are all great guys. And of course, eventually, Rolen had been gone from the Cardinals for a while. And actually, he just retired when the Pirates got really good. And there was from 2013 to 2015 when the Pirates and Cardinals had a pretty good rivalry going. And had some really great series. I definitely, look back and say, you know what, these guys were just great players and we just sucked. But Rolen, though, played for 17 seasons. He started off with the Phillies and he was drafted in the second round in the 1993 draft. He would make it to the majors in 1996 at just 21 years old. After a below-average rate in 37 games in his first year in the big leagues, he would then break out in 1997 when he had 283 with 21 home runs and 16 stolen bases as well. And he would win the National League Rookie of the Year award that year. He would then, of course, contribute in similar fashion over the next few seasons for the Phillies, and, of course, before he was traded to the Cardinals in 2002. Between 1998 and 2004, he hit between 25 and 34 home runs. He had, of course, like a handful of stolen bases. Not a lot, but a handful. He also went on to win 8 Gold Glove awards at third base. One of the best defensive third basemen, of course, of all time. Of course, this definitely gives a lot of hope to Nolan Arenado, who has very similar numbers at third base right now, and he still has a lot of years left on his career. So if Rolen can get in, I'm pretty sure Nolan Arenado, unless he screws up, is on his way to the Hall of Fame someday as well. Of course, 2004 was probably his best season, as he hit .314 with 34 home runs, and again, just very stellar defense there as well. Rolen also that year finished 4th in the MVP voting, trailing Barry Bonds, Adrian Beltre, and his own teammate Albert Pujols. 2005, though, started kind of like when he started to slow down a bit. He did play just 56 games before he had season-ending shoulder surgery. He bounced back in 2006 and helped the Cardinals win the National League champion division, the National League Central Division, and eventually went on to win the World Series with the Cardinals, his only World Series ring as well. And of course, he would play in the playoffs several times, including, of course, also, don't forget, 2002, whenever he joined the Cardinals in the midst of the season, whenever the Cardinals were dedicating their season after the sudden loss of Darryl Kyle as well. Of course, they made most of the playoffs most of the time while Rolen was in St. Louis. He would then spend another season with the Cardinals in 2007, and then before the 2008 season, he was traded to the Toronto Blue Jays. He had spent a season and a half there before he was dealt to the Reds, where he finished off the rest of his career. Again, he overall played 17 seasons. He hit 316 homers, scored 1,211 runs, and drove 1,287, so 118 bases. He's a 7-time All-Star and an 8-time Gold Glove winner as well. And like I said, of course, he set the record for having the lowest threshold of votes, but to be eventually voted in, as he had a very, very steady increase. And again, like I said, I do believe he does deserve this honor for sure. Gives hope for a lot of other players as well, who probably, I mean, yes, he had this season where he was great with hitting, but the biggest thing about Scott Rolen for sure was his defense. But to, of course, share the rest of the results from the votes, the next closest who came close to getting in, besides Rolen had 76.3%, the next closest, and only short 11 votes in his 5th year, though, on the ballot, is Colorado Rockies first baseman Todd Helton, who I was predicting for both him and Rolen to get in on the ballot, to get in this year. Helton, though, came just 11 votes shy. So as long as he behaves himself, he'll get in next year. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty positive Helton will get in next year. I'd be very surprised if he didn't get in. After that, we had Billy Wagner in his 8th year with 68.1%. So many relief pitchers, as I always keep hearing. Well, except for Mariano Rivera, who was unanimously voted in on his first year on the ballot. But Billy Wagner had 68.1% in his 8th year on the ballot. I think he has a chance. But again, I just don't get why relief pitchers, especially closers, don't get as much credit as they should. They seem to take a little bit longer, again, unless it's Mariano Rivera, to get into the Hall of Fame. Because even like Frankie Rodriguez didn't quite start off as good as I thought he would. But you never know. He could still get in. The next highest in his 6th year on the ballot was Andrew Jones, who he even had like a low... I think he may have had a little bit of a lower percentage his first year on the ballot than Rolen did. I mean, Andrew Jones, I think the problem with him was he has 400 career homers. He has 10 Gold Gloves. One of only 4 players in Major League history to do that. But I think because he slowed down kind of early, that might have slowed him down. But I think he has a good shot at getting in. There was Gary Sheffield on his 9th year on the ballot, who jumped from, after being stuck at 40% for like 2 years in a row, he got up to 55%. So he has 1 year left on the ballot. His media, of course, how he handled media and whatnot, that could hurt him from getting in. I mean, him bouncing around. I knew that he had some attitude problems and whatnot, so that might stop him from getting in. If he doesn't get in, I think he may get in on like a veterans committee or whatnot eventually. But he could get in because we did have Jeff Kent, who had 46.5%, and on his last year on the ballot, he jumped a good like 20%. I think it was he jumped. So there is a chance Chef could still get in. Kent, though, again, was on his only one on his 10th year on the ballot. He did not get in, but I think he could get in eventually on the veterans committee. Carlos Beltran, who was the highest first year ballot person, had 46.5%. I didn't expect him to I wasn't 100% certain of him being a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think eventually, though, he will get in. I mean, I know people keep saying that him being part of the Astros sign stealing scandal at the end of his career might have hurt him, but it was right at the end, and he wasn't like impacting the team too much. So I don't think it's going to affect him much. I think it may take maybe like another 2 or 3 years before he gets in, but it could happen. A-Rod on his 2nd year on the ballot barely had much, only had like a 1% increase. He had 35.7%. Manny Ramirez 7th year, 33.2%. Omar Vizquel again continues to fall at 52%. Like 2 years ago. But then some accusations came out about him, and he has dropped drastically. So I think he's doomed. And he was on his 6th year, but I think he's doomed. Andy Pettit had 17% in his 5th year. Bobby Abreu had 15.4% in his 4th year. Jimmy Rollins, 12.9% his 2nd year. Mark Burley, 10.8% in 3 years. Frankie Rodriguez, 10.8% in his 1st year on the ballot. It may take a steady climb, but I think he will eventually be in the Hall of Fame. As again, I just don't understand why these closers don't get as much credit as they should get. And his 3rd year, Torrey Hunter had 6.9%. Everyone else who was on the ballot, unfortunately, did not make the 5% and will not be on the ballot next year. But guys who got just 1 vote, Bronson Arroyo, R.A. Dickey, John Lackey, Mike Napoli, and Houston Street all got 1 vote. And unfortunately, though, of course, that's not enough. And then there was Matt Cain, Jacoby Ellsbury, Andre Ethier, J.J. Hardy, Johnny Peralta, Jared Weaver, and Jason Worth, who did not get any votes whatsoever. I believe the only threat to being a first ballot Hall of Famer next year, I believe, is Adrian Beltre. Someone who's going to be getting a lot of votes. He could get in on his 1st year. I'm not sure, though, if he will, but I do think we will at least see Todd Helton next year. Maybe Billy Wagner and Andrew Jones. I think Gary Sheffield might come up just short. He'll probably have to get in on a Veterans Committee ballot at some point, in my prediction. But Scott Rolen, again, congratulations. Again, he definitely showed, though, anybody can have hope on the ballot. Again, starting off with 10.2%, I believe I said it was. Again, sets the record as with the lowest first-year percentage of anyone to eventually get elected in. So again, he's got hope. And again, I think Andrew Jones still had a little less than him. But again, he's had a very solid climb over the past couple years. Give him maybe another year or two, Andrew Jones could probably get into the Hall of Fame. Of course, there's 2 more years until 2025 when Ichiro gets on the ballot, and I think he for sure is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I look forward to when that happens, of course. And I still would like to maybe attend Cooperstown for that ceremony when that happens. But yes, congratulations once again to Scott Rolen for being inducted, and he'll be elected. He'll be inducted with Fred McGriff in the summer for the class of 2023 National Baseball Hall of Fame. So guys, that's my thoughts on Scott Rolen and the final results of the 2023 Baseball Writers Association voting for the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. What are your guys' thoughts on Scott Rolen getting elected as well? And are you disappointed as well that Todd Helton didn't quite get in this year? But he still has a chance, of course. Make sure you guys leave your thoughts down in the comments section below. And be sure as always to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. And follow me on Twitter at the Club of the Man 93. And be sure as always to shout for me, Bosun. And follow me on TikTok at the Club of the Man 1993. Until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you all later and have a great rest of your night. Peace out, everybody.